I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. All right, part two of what's in Trump's, what indictment does Trump have against the world? We talked about his health is probably, that's his only liability right now. He ain't worried about none of these prosecutors. They ain't worried about none of that stuff, and Trump ain't gonna change, and I don't think they're gonna handcuff him. And they don't need to take a mug shot of him either. Everybody knows what he looks like. But I do think here are some things that probably Trump would be concerned about. He ain't concerned about Alvin Bragg or Jack Smith or Fannie Willis or Joe Biden or nobody else. But what he is concerned about, one, of course, what he should be concerned about, number one, is his health. But number two, I find it interesting that he's only raised about $5 to $6 million since last Thursday night. He was when it was announced that the grand jury had returned a true bill, and that Trump was indicted. He raised, I think, $4 million in 24 hours, and then it petered off to $5. He's maybe up to $6 or $7 million now. But let me just break down some stats for you. Number one is that Trump had over 70 million people vote for him, right? In the 2020 election. 70 million people voted for him. Let's say, for instance, right now, those people who everybody's saying send Trump money so he can fight all this, because he's going to need money. He does need it. Rich people need money. At least they think they do. So Trump will need some money, right? So he's taking up, doing campaign financing funding. But if he's only raised, let's give him $7 million. That's only 1%. If my math is right, my math is always bad as bad can be. But maybe it's less than 1% if everybody gave just $1, right? If everybody gave just $1 of the 70 million people that voted for him, he'd have $70 million, right? He only got 7, so the 1%, yeah, I think. So that's not good. That means that people are not jumping through the hoops to give Trump money. So that would be because Trump is a money man. He knows how to count a dollar. That boy knows how to count them Benjamins. And if that's all he's got, he come up here and spend some time in Trump Plaza and order some fried chicken. I don't know what he's going to eat up here. But anyway, if he's concerned about anything, it ain't Alvin Bragg. It's about that he only raised $7 million. That's one thing. That's number one. And the other thing is that the MAGA nation, obviously, if he hasn't raised a lot of money, that means that they're not responding to him as they ought to be in terms of the money. And I'm not seeing, though, I think that Trump is going to, going to go ahead now and let the dogs out. Now, I'm not calling people dogs. I'm not calling men and women that follow Trump dogs. I'm just using a poetic expression from a song some 25 years ago. I think, let the dogs out. I'm just being literal. I'm just, have a lot of stuff running around in my mind. I'm not being racist or anything like that. You gotta listen to me. Let the dogs out. I think that Trump's going to do that. But I'm not sure how far this is going to go. And I don't know if this is the right time. I don't know if this is Trump said, call for Marjorie Taylor Greene, all that crowd, calling for, where at me? I said, wait a minute, this ain't the time to do this. Let this New York thing, it ain't nothing. Let it go. It ain't, I'm telling you, it ain't nothing. I don't care if they charge with conspiracy, to commit, whatever. It ain't nothing. Now, I'm not here for Trump. But I think before you call the dogs out, before you call the big guns, I think before you start calling people to get in the streets and march, you need to find out what that Jack Smith boy got down there with obstruction of justice with Mar-A-Lago and them documents now. So you didn't wait 4 or 5 months. Trump, come up here, let them read you the riot acts on that indictment, get back on your plane, go back to Mar-A-Lago. And don't worry about that. This is my advice. This is what I would say. This is how I would handle it. I wouldn't call for a protest just yet. Not yet. It ain't time. It ain't time to call for protest. It's not for something, not for porn star. It ain't time. You want to call for protest if Jack Smith's Department of Justice decide to drop an indictment on you of obstructing justice because they got you red-handed down there in Mar-A-Lago. That's a bad. Even the Fannie Willis thing is not. I mean, a good lawyer can get Trump out of that. That Fannie Willis, that phone call. All we need is 11,780 more votes, one more than we have. A good lawyer can tear that apart. I could, I could handle that without a law degree. I could. But I think he needs to, I wouldn't call the dogs out. And I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is making a mistake by coming up here to New York tomorrow with anyway. So, but the MAGA nation may not be willing to respond. And you can't fight every fight. Sometimes you have to just let some stuff just go under the bridge. You got to choose your battles. And protests in New York is not where you want to come up here protest. These police up in New York don't like y'all folks down there redneck country anyway. Come up here for redneck country. And these police up in New York, these Irish police, they can recognize a redneck a mile away. Y'all, because you're going to come up and dress like rednecks. And they're going to bust a cap on you. Put you in a New York jail. Put you out there on Rikers Island with some of the boys. You ain't going to like that. So I say stay home. Stay home. Wait till it comes to Georgia, then maybe you got a shot, but don't, anyway. So the other thing is that that I want to say to y'all before I let y'all go today is that Lindsey Graham was on some broadcast the other night cussing up a storm, using the BS word. Send the man some money. So I figured, I've been watching Lindsey Graham for quite some time. He and John McCain used to be tight. And so I figured it out. I figured I'm going to let y'all in on this secret so you can tell everybody you heard it first here on the Manning Report, because it's true that this news breaking. I figured out what the story is with Lindsey Graham, Kevin McCarthy, and Jim Jordan. I know what the issue is with all of them right now. Can I tell you? Well, you come up close, I'll tell you. Lindsey Graham and Kevin McCarthy and this boy Jim Jordan, they're all homosexuals. They're all queers. All three of them are as queer as a $3 bill. They're queers. Now, they ain't going to tell you that because they come from the old school. They're old school. Old school homos, they don't come out and tell you they're homos. They're old school. And Lindsey Graham is old school. But down in South Carolina, they old school. Jim Clyburn would have a fit. He'd lose this Senate race in a heartbeat if he came out of the closet. And same thing with Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy, he's old school too. He's from California, up there, Santa Barbara, somewhere up there. And northern, he's not from lower California, Los Angeles. But he is southern Los Angeles. He's from north, but he's old school. Kevin McCarthy, and he's a queer, and Jim Jordan too. So they ain't gonna tell you that, but that's why they're jumping up and down, because Trump knows that they're queers. Trump knows they're queers, and so they're gonna give Trump all the support he needs, because Trump can pull out the records on them being queers, and their career's over with. And by the way, the other thing, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's married, her husband just divorced her. Marjorie Taylor Greene is bisexual too. She is. No, she is. She's another one. Yeah. By the way, those women on the squad, those 4 women on the squad, Ilhan Omar and Alexander Cortez and the other 2 of them, they all queers. Pastor Manny, you're going to get in trouble. I stay in trouble. Trouble is my middle name. Call me Mr. T. I stay in trouble. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you the truth. Call me Mr. T for truth, not for trouble, though. So that's why they're jumping up and down, is because Mitch McConnell, he ain't jumping up and down because he ain't a queer. He's married to that Chinese woman, right? No, where is she? Where's Katie Chung? Where is she? Korea? She's not Chinese. Anyway.